Okay, yeah, did we do a curb stop or something over there on our A Street? Did we took out a section of curb? Or sidewalk rather? Sidewalk rather? Do you know what address?
On Washington Avenue. Yep, I know they didn't move, because our car's still there.
I'm in the,
And we're ticketing them every day.
Saturday, flying down. We were gonna drive, cause I kinda like to drive, but then my wife, we can fly for free, and my wife says, that really doesn't make a lot of economic sense. She says, we're gonna take 3 days down there, so that'll be 2 nights in the hotel down there, 1 night back in the hotel, plus about 80 gallons of gas, and we can fly for free. I said, yeah, I guess you're right. The only thing it's gonna cost me is about a $90 Uber ride from Fort Lauderdale to Jupiter, but
He's gonna text you when he gets over there, the address, so.
about not quite 10 days, I think 9 days. I think we're gonna see 4 Cardinal games and 1 of those World Baseball Classic games. But every year I say that's my last year. I mean, it's fun, but it's kind of the same thing every year. So, turning an old person, I like being home. I like being home.
I must be old for a long time.
I like being home.
Yeah, something was right.
Pretty much stay in the same place.
Yeah, we stayed, it's the same condo we stayed in the whole time. And it's not on the beach, it's actually on a par 9 golf course, par 3 golf course, 9 hole. No, it's actually 18 holes, but anyway, it's within walking distance of the beach. We can walk to the beach, and it's about a 10, 12-minute drive to Roger Dean. So
You can take
it's
a
not
metal
bad.
building back, but you can't take the concrete back. Yeah, right.
We see the same people from Washington.
There it is.
Got her going.
You're not showing us a picture of a colonoscopy, are you?
Pretty clean.
It's pretty close. It kinda
I think I got a problem.
looks-
I'll be
that looks
off
a
for a
lot
while.
like a colonoscopy.
No, this is our new lateral launch system.
That's cool.
This is in a 6-inch line, and we're gonna be going into a 4-inch service lateral with the new camera head that we have that on the push side of it that we can actually rotate now. So when we get to the end, we can actually see what caused the problem in the service lateral.
Okay, John, thanks. Fun.
Yeah, that thing's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Whoa.
So I figured I told you guys I'd bring in and let you guys see it, so there
That
it is.
is cool.
It's kind of hard to see, but you'd probably be sitting out there, it would probably be a lot better, but.
What is that,
Kevin's colonoscopy.
Yes.
I was
yeah.
gonna say Kevin's colonoscopy. I didn't know you could, morning, Honorable Mayor.
Doug? We good?
Okay, Sarah, we're ready. I'd like to call this meeting of the City of Washington Board of Public Works, Tuesday, February 28th, 7:30 a.m. to order. Roll call, please.
John Dietmeyer.
Here.
Brad Mitchell.
Here.
Mike Ratatek.
Here.
Steve Richardson. Mike Coulter.
Here.
Wayne Reed. Steve Struberg.
Thank you. Stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first order. Everybody have a chance to read the minutes? Any changes, corrections, additions?
Motion.
Motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes approved. Thank you all. Okay. I guess we will, anything priority come up? No?
No.
Okay. Wastewater, Kevin.
Yes, let's start out with the audit that we had that DNR came out and conducted for our industrial monitoring. Every so often, so I think it's like every 3 years, we get what they call a major sanitary survey, where they actually come and look at everything that we have, that we're doing on the collection side and the wastewater side, and at the plant and industrial monitoring. And then every year and a half in between that, kind of like halfway through, they come and do what they call an audit, to see if we're following what we're supposed to be doing. What we got our letter of warnings on for this round is something that I don't really like, and we're gonna change it, is the way we've always done it. So let's go through these warnings one by one. I mean, and this is just a warning. This is not a violation. This is not a penalty. There's no fines. It's just a warning telling us, hey, we need to do this. If we don't do this, then it will roll into
Right.
something more serious. So that won't happen. We will be doing it. So if you look at the number one, CA monitoring equipment. How we, this is, and this pertains to getting the pH readings out from the factories at the time of inspection. So the way we've always done it was John Zimmerman, Kevin Mossman, and now Gary Bogue would go out to the industry, inspect it, make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, grab a sample, run it back to the lab, and use our lab pH meter to test it. We have in regulations, we have a 15-minute window to get that done. Well, we know we can get from the west end of town down to the treatment plant in 15 minutes. So we would do that, take our readings, and have our readings. Well, this inspector feels that that's not adequate enough, so we should have a pocket pH reader. That's if you read it, that's what it is. So in the first visit he came to, we went ahead and we bought $250 pocket pH reader. Because if I didn't, this would move on from a letter of warning to, in his opinion, a violation of not following our.
But doesn't the regulation say you got 15 minutes to do it?
Yes, it does. We would have to actually have video evidence that we left at this time and show that we made it back there in 15 minutes. So, not worth the, again, not worth the argument or the discussion. We went out and got that. So that one there, as you can see, no further action required because we had it when he came back to do a second inspection. No problem. The second one.
I'm sorry, I presume the last time we had this audit, that inspector at that time did not view that as an issue.
It was okay.
It's never been an issue.
Yeah. So it's as, and we have to remember that everything rolls downhill. So the EPA governs all bodies, everybody. And then they hand down to the DNR their requirements that they're supposed to govern all of us. It's well known that there's certain things that haven't been really pushed too hard on, so the EPA is stepping down real hard on all the DNR, whether it's Missouri, Michigan, you name it, all of them saying, this is the Clean Water Act, you're not following it the way we feel you should be following it, which means that your people are not following it the way they should be following it. So it's all rolling downhill, so they're getting more stringent on it. Could we continue doing it the way we did it? We could, but we'd have to have proof that we're making it from point A to point B within 15 minutes. That's not worth it to me.
No.
Not for $250. That's not worth it. So we now have a portable pH meter. So if anybody needs to have any pH tested in there anywhere, let me know. We can come test it. But anyway, so that's the letter of warning for number one. Number two is the evaluation of the applicable categorical standards for CU sure manufacturing, and he rolls into M&R plating too in the same one. So what this one's saying is that he doesn't feel that our permits are being justifiably required of us to the users. The reason for that is, and these are all kind of tied to the same thing. We govern our permits are driven off of the daily usage of the process. Okay, what they actually have to process, the water usage on that. That's what that's governed off of. How we do it is, and how we've always done it, and it really was never a problem, but now it's becoming more of a problem, is we took the water that came into the building off the water meter, and that was their daily usage. And we used that to build our permits. This inspector doesn't feel that that's accurate enough for our permits, so he wants us to now get daily readings and use daily readings from the industries as how we generate our permits. It's not that big a deal. It could change things. It could change some industries when we start doing this, which we're already in the process of doing that. When we do this, it could change the requirements of each user's permit, meaning knowing exactly what the flow is out of their process could either loosen their requirements, or it could strengthen their requirements, meaning it could make it even more stringent for that industry with that permit. So we won't know until we get through the process and get it going. That's just something we're gonna have to work through. So that's basically what number 2 is. We're not using actual true numbers to build our permits. Even though when we did our permits in 20, they were reviewed by the industrial monitoring director at DNR and approved through that this way. Now we have a new director and we have new inspectors, and now we're doing this is our opinion kind of thing. There's regulations in there that they can back up on. We're kind of like floating like right on the fringes of the regulations. We're not down deep in the center. We're gonna have to get down deep in the center of the regulations. We're not violating anything. We're just not doing it the way that they feel we should be doing it.
So before you were just measuring the intake, and now they want to measure what's going out?
They want us to measure the actual flow going into whatever process. Like M&R Plating, they do plating. So they actually have a new pre-treatment process at the plant that has a flow meter on it that shows how much water is actually going through that process, which in return says how much discharge is coming out.
Okay, gotcha.
So they already have that. We just haven't been using that as our way to say that's how much water they're using. We've always used, like I said, the process was set up this way back in, I want to say the 70s, and it's just always been this way. It was really never an issue. I mean, it just was always this way. But now, because of everything that's happening, it's now become an issue. So we already know that they have the meters there, so we're just gonna start gathering the information from them.
Now, is this more of a burden for the industries?
Yes.
So what's their reaction?
It's really not a burden, because in their permits, they have to monitor daily flow. That is their requirement. They do that. It's just we're not getting that information from them and using that information. We would just always use the flow coming into the building. So all this stuff is really easy to fix. It's just getting everybody on board to do it the way we have to start doing it. It's really all it is. So we're already in the process of taking care of that. Gary's been meeting with the industries. I'm working with Cochran Engineering, who is our engineering firm that does our industrial monitoring stuff for us. As far as the paperwork and the permits and all that, we gather all the information, give it to them, and they help package it up, because it is a long, drawn-out ordeal to do that. So I'm working with them already. So that's number 2. Kind of a long explanation of number 2, but that's number 2. Number 3 is basically on the same level. So this one here, this one says that we didn't do the sampling types. So there's 2 different types of samples that can be drawn from the industries. It's either a composite sample or a grab sample. A grab sample is when you literally take a bottle and you go and literally grab a sample and you go with it. A composite is where it goes through a sampler, where it takes 5 days, and it takes there's a timing thing, and it draws a little bit, and it draws a little bit, and then that becomes a composite. On one of our reports, and I think it was M&R Plating, we didn't have, it wasn't written down whether it was a composite or a grab. So yes, we missed that down at the plant, we missed it. So he caught that and said, well, you didn't do that, so it's a letter of warning because it wasn't written down. It's DNR. If it wasn't written down or if it isn't on paper, it didn't happen. So, you know, it's just the way it is. But easy fix, so from now on, when Gary gets his reports, it's a monthly thing, he's gonna look through every page and make sure that there's either a composite or a grab, and he's gonna go back to whoever and say, what'd you do here? And we'll get that corrected. It's an easy fix. It's just something that's just another thing that they have to really watch for down at the plant. I mean, it is part of it's just something we have to do. So that's that one. So, and then 4, it's back to the flow thing again. It's what we recorded in our report for the permits was an X amount of flow daily. Well, what we're reporting now, because we're getting more accurate numbers from M&R Plating, is a lower flow than what we say that we're regulating them on. So now we have to go back and start re-looking at all of our permits with the flow. So basically all this has to do with the flows and how we are regulating the industries for what they have to monitor for. Bottom line, it's all the number 4. I have to really work with them or with Cochrane on, because we have to do a flow data analysis on every industry. So that means we'll have to go in, see how many employees they have, put 50 gallons a day on those people. That's how much the requirement says a person should use in a factory is 50 gallons. We'll have to see what type of facilities they have, how many bathrooms, how many sinks, all that stuff, and then all that gets calculated into a calculation. Or we go to every industry and we work with them in getting a meter and make sure that they have a meter in their process that can meter it, and we use that number as the flow that we're using. That's the avenue we're gonna go down. I don't wanna do a calculation thing, because if you don't do a calculation right, well, then you're not doing it right either. Where a flow meter, you put a flow meter in, you're gonna know what the flow is.
This is the flow on the discharge.
Yes, yeah. So that's kind of the avenue we're gonna go down on right now. So, that's basically 4 in a nutshell.
Is that our cost or the industry?
Industry's cost. Yeah, so that's, like I said, that's something we're working on. And then, let's see, I think. And there was an A and a B, because A was
Right.
M&R Plating and B was Sure. So that's why we have an A and a B. Both of them.
But you're gonna have to go in every.
Yeah, because these are just 2 of them.
Yeah, 2 of them.
Yeah, we've got 7 categorical ones. So they could come back next month and want to look at 2 other ones.
others.
So we're just doing all of them.
Well, yeah.
We're just gonna, because we have to anyway. Every permit's basically the same, so we have to do it anyway, so we're doing all of them. And then number 5, as you can see, there's no further action on it from DNR, because they, when they came on our first visit, Sure Manufacturing didn't have a cover letter like M&R Plating saying that they certify they use X amount of flow. It's just a document. It was in the it was in the file, but it wasn't the cover sheet. It was just tucked into a sampling sheet that had the same wording in it, but it wasn't a cover sheet. So, so we took M&R Plating's cover sheet and we modified it for Sure Manufacturing. We took it out to Sure Manufacturing. We said, will you sign this and please add this to the file every month? So we will be looking at every industry to make sure that we have that cover sheet. But because we didn't have it, it became a letter of warning. That's just how it works. So we had the information, but it wasn't in the cover sheet.
So then when you moved it from the middle to the front page, then there's no further action.
No further action. So that's how it works, so.
Have to justify their existence.
And that's pretty much it on this letter of warning that we got from
Okay.
DNR. No violations, it's just a letter of warning. I have to respond back by May 17th. Actually, what you have here is what I'm responding back with. And each one of them I already wrote down. They're working with Cochrane Engineering, because we're working with Cochrane Engineering. So, and that'll be fine. They'll release this letter of warning, and then we'll work through our stuff. We'll get all the stuff into the permits. We'll review the permits. We'll redo them if we have to. We'll reissue them if we have to. We'll make sure that everything that we need is in the files for the next visit, and we'll just keep moving on.
So, and this is community-based because of our size? Or is this something that they do, DNR does everywhere? I mean, they go down to New Haven and check their businesses, or, you know, out in the middle of nowhere and check, just because they're a manufacturer, do they check this?
If a city has a industry that fits the criteria of the DNR's industrial monitoring requirements, there's certain criteria everybody has to fit into, then they have to have a permit.
Okay.
So it's not, every business doesn't have to have one. It's just certain categorical businesses that fit the categories that have to have a permit. And it's really driven off of what that business is doing, like our new one coming in. It's just like M&R Plating. It will have a permit identical to M&R Platings, because they do the same process. Frikes has a different permit because he's a food-based, but because he gives us excessive BODs and TSSs, he falls into that, a different categorical standard, but still falls under a permit. And then everybody else, because of what they do, falls under the categorical standards, all driven off of the gallons of water per day used. So if you use 350 gallons or more of water and your process fits that criteria, you have to have an industrial monitoring permit. You have to have a user permit. It's just what it is. So it's really regulated. If I gave you the 50-page report, you would see Oscar's his name. You would see Oscar's suggestions. That's probably 48 pages of the report is Oscar's suggestions on what we should do. We should be handing out a survey to every business in town and getting a result back on what their process is. So we should be giving something to McDonald's and say, okay, what's your process? I mean, that's really how he says every business should have a questionnaire to know what they're doing. Well, we already know what 3/4 of them are doing. They're food-based. They don't, it doesn't fall into anything. But that's one of his suggestions, and there's that we should be doing that. I'm not gonna do that. What I am gonna do, though, is I'm gonna get a form put together, and I'm gonna give it to John so that whenever a business comes into town and that has a possibility, because John sees the stuff before I do most of the time, that form can then be handed to that industry saying, okay, here, fill this out, let us know what your process is gonna be. And then from there, we know then, do they fit this criteria, this criteria, this criteria?
That's good.
So moving forward, it'll be any new industries, but I'm not gonna go to all these places and say, can you fill out this form to let me know that you're,
So
you use oil to fry your french fries?
Technically, you'd have to go to the hospital and have them, like all the doctors and dentists and veterinarians.
Well, the dentist, we already have to do that because
Okay, no,
of
yeah.
the silver
The
amount.
mercury, yeah.
I can't even remember what it is, but, yeah, so, yeah.
So when did you say they're coming back?
They'll be back, well, they're scheduled to be back, I think, in '23, next year for our full survey. When they do that, they'll come in and we'll start at Public Works, we'll go over the collection side, so that me and Carrie will be going through that. Are we inspecting manholes? What are we doing for I&I? And we're already way ahead of the game on that, because I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars, which I'll know by the time they get here, we have spent on slip lining to eliminate that. We're lining all of our manholes when we do slip lining. So that kind of stuff we're way ahead on. They'll look at our records on how we check our lift stations. And then we'll get a report on that on the collection side. Then we'll go down to the treatment plant, and I'll sit with Gary down there, and they'll go through all of the process at the treatment plant. Are we following this? Are we following that as far as the operation of the treatment plant? We'll go through that, and then they'll end up with the industrial monitoring, which they'll then pick 2 other businesses to look at and go from there. But anyway, so they always give us plenty of time on that, and they're really nice about that. They send a big questionnaire way ahead, and you get the chance to make sure you got all your ducks in a row and stuff. So that's not going to be an issue. But
Okay.
and then on 24, we have our water sanitary survey. They'll come in and do the same thing there. They'll look at all of our records, make sure we're checking our wells every day, writing down readings, making sure we're following all of our disinfection side. So it's going to be boom, 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 and just be ready. Just be ready. I will let you know now. all of them, we will have a finding of a letter of warning on something. Last time we got the survey on the water side, one of the things on the letter of warning, and they were so small that I didn't even bring them to you guys, was that we had a little bit of rust on one of our pipes in the well building. So you know how we fixed that? Took some paint out and painted it. I mean, that's, again, you know, it's, they have to, and they will find something. It doesn't matter how hard we try, they'll find something. So it's just the way it is. But it's usually so small. This one here was just a little bit bigger because it's the industrial monitoring side, which is extremely important. So this was a lot different, but still nothing bad. It's just what we have to deal with on
All right.
doing that. So.
Well, you gotta have a lot of background knowledge to make it through that. I
Okay.
can see that now. Any other questions, comments? Anything else on wastewater?
No?
Nope. That's good.
Oh, well, I do want to say, just in case anybody's been on the east end of town, if you look at our old plant, we have I can't say it, a whole lot of sludge sitting on the ground waiting to be spread. So there's a big pile of sludge down there that we can't get out in the fields because it's too wet, so we gotta wait. So if anybody asks why we have all that black stuff sitting down on the ground there, is we can't get in the fields to get it out. And we do have, so actually now I'm thinking about it, we do have more. Our belt press that we press the sludge with is down. It's been down now for about 2 weeks. A gearbox is out on it. So it's a big, basically the belt press is a great big, long, 6-foot wide belt that serpentines through this machine, and the sludge comes out in a liquid form out of the mixers, and we add polymer to it, which is a coagulant, and then it goes through this belt press, and as it's going through, it keeps getting squished and squished and squished and squeezes out. We actually remove 89% of the water out of it through this belt press, and at the end it becomes like this cake. That's what you see down there now. It's just like a cake mix type thing. But the gearbox is out on that. Been working with the manufacturer. Like everything, it's extremely hard to get anything. It's gonna cost a little extra, but we've been able to get a new gearbox from the factory, and I'll be getting that ordered today, for right around $4,000 with a $1,000 expedited fee to get it done quicker, or we could get it in 22 weeks.
Oh,
We don't have time for
That's a
22
lot
weeks.
That's a lot of
We should be pressing sludge right now. Our blankets and our clarifiers are starting to rise, and if they get too high, then they flow over, then we get a violation on the discharge side on the plant. So it's just what it is, but I just want to let you know, so it's,
was the concrete work or the pad or whatever where the sludge is, you were doing something we talked about.
yeah, that's still a process. We're going to rebuild the drying bed that we have right now.
Okay.
We just haven't gotten there yet, because other things are happening, so you gotta kind of juggle what we spend our money on. I think I have $200,000 in the budget this year, and the last time I even went out to even question what it would be, I think it came in at like $250,000 to get this concrete slab poured. So I'm kind of holding off and hoping that at some point in time, prices go down a little bit and we can get it done. The bed we have now works, it's old. It's a 1963 model drying bed, so the bed was designed with a filtration system and then these concrete pads where you're supposed to drive on to get in there to clean everything out. Well, they have broken up and since deteriorated, and it's just time for a new pad. So we're gonna put a concrete slab in that has a different drain system and everything. It's gonna be sloped to the front. The drain will be in the front, goes right back to our wet well, and then it'll all be concrete with push walls and everything. But it's
All right.
things just won't go down.
Yeah.
And again, if back to, I know we've got plans, but we have to do a rate increase. We can't keep operating the way we are. That's why some things are being put to the side, because we don't have funds. I got VFDs. That plant was built in 2008, put online in 2009, and things are starting to go out. We've had this discussion before. The VFDs for the disc aerators and for the pumps, they're all starting to go out. So I took your advice, Brad, and we have all of our VFDs replaced. I have one on order to be a backup sitting there when the next one goes out, because it's a 12 to 15 to 18-week turnaround on those to even get them back. So if we lose equipment, we lose process, we lose, you know,
Got a problem.
yeah, we got a problem. Yeah, we run into a problem, so. Anyway, that's just a little bit more on the wastewater side, and I think I'm done now, for
All
now.
right, well, let's move on to water. So, we've got a couple of bills, Cochran Engineering.
Yes, this is for the South Point ground storage tank. This is just some of the work they've been doing on getting the bids together and all the other stuff and getting all that going. Matter of fact, we should be receiving bids March 16th, I think, or somewhere around there, right around mid-March on the tank. And we'll, at that point in time, review them and bring them to you guys and see what the number comes into. Cochran Engineering feels it's going to be pretty competitive, so we might get some good numbers. We did have a Zoom conference meeting here a week before last I sat in, and there was 4 tank builders that were involved in it. That's a good sign. That means that we will get some pretty tight bids, I think. There was some good discussion on how the design of the tank was, and the tank builders, with their experience, brought up some ideas and then some opinions that could be that will be beneficial for the city. The roof design, there was some trusses involved in the roof. The tank builders feel that that Cochran can redesign the tank roof to make it more like Enduro, where it's a self-supporting roof rather than having the trusses, because if you put trusses in there, that's always a point of failure, especially because we chlorinate. So at any point in time, a paint could chip off or whatever, and then you'd start building rust, and then you'd have a bigger problem. So that's one thing, which will save money, because less steel means less cost. There's a mixing system going in that one, just like all the rest of them. There's several different type of mixing systems in there. It's a piece of pipe with a baffle at the top that spreads the water around. It was brought up that the mixing system that was in the specs, which is called TideFlex, is a very expensive mixing system, and there's new mixing systems out there that are a lot cheaper. So we're going to evaluate that too and see if we can't save
Do they have a ballpark what they think this is gonna cost?
right around 2 million-ish or somewhere. But if we can, the TideFlex, just the mixing system alone, the tank companies are very confident in the fact that we can save at least $100,000 in the mixing system alone if we do that. That's right off the top. So we're looking at the different ones that are going to send us specs so we can review those to see if they're going to work the same as TideFlex, which TideFlex lost their patent, so everybody can build exactly what TideFlex built. So it's going to be exactly what TideFlex had with just a different name, and maybe a different process or whatever. But anyway, so.
So we have a bill for $7,496 due to Cochran. Do we have a
So moved.
move?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, this approved. Send it on to the council for payment. And we finally have a final pay request.
Yes, we have a change order first, and then a final pay request. So the change order is for a deduct of $573.60. That is to get the yard at Clay Street brought back up to what it was before they came in to paint Clay Street. Because if you remember when they did Clay Street, it was pretty wet and so they put some ruts in there. They tried to fix them when they left the first time. It wasn't adequate. So I went out, I had Dylan go out for bids with Hillerman's and Town and Country, and Town and Country was the lowest, so Town and Country will be fixing the yard, so there's a deduct on the total amount of $573.60 that we will then use to pay the yard work. So the total project's gonna be the same, it's just we're not paying countrywide, or
Bill is for $29,101.40.
Motion.
Motion,
Second.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Sent that on to the council. Anything else on water, Kevin?
no, we're doing good. We've had some water main breaks. As we all know, the boring guys are going crazy around town. We've had some, I don't want to say issues, some situations that have popped up throughout the process. Nothing really major except for yesterday. A new company came in and hit one of our water mains that was marked. So they'll be paying.
They knew right where they were aiming.
They knew right where they were aiming. They will be getting a bill for our truck time, tractor time, employee time. They will be getting overtime added to that because the guys had to work late to do it. So they will be paying for the guys' time that they had to be here
That's
for the repairs.
that's a
That's
job
so.
for them, yeah.
So that we will get reimbursed for that one.
Good.
So.
Any other old business, folks? Comments from the peanut gallery? I look at John when I say that. Usually you have some comment. Okay. Our next meeting is scheduled for March 28th. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Okay. Thank you guys very much.
No problem, thank you.
I told you I was gonna show you guys this, and we kinda got sidetracked, so let me go back to that. So, let me see if I can fast forward this guy.
Thank you.
Let me get down to where it actually does the work.
Oh, yeah.